Okay, so I'll start so that I won't keep you long. So today, in our sixth training session, we're talking about how to prepare for public sector interviews. There are some few tips that I would like you to always put in mind. The first thing is that whenever you have an interview in the public sector, you will receive an invitation 96 hours before the interview, which is 4 days that you should use to prepare well and prepare in everything. What are you going to address? How are you going to go? Or how long will the road to go there will take? Practice questions, get your resume done, everything related to the interview, you should start preparing for it as early as possible. The earlier you start, the more relaxed you will be when it comes very close to the interview time. Okay. Second thing is that whenever you receive an invitation, there are few cases in which you can reschedule it. You can reschedule if you have a valid medical reason with a letter from a doctor that states that. Second thing would be that you have a valid family emergency. And the last thing would be that you have a travel arrangement that was planned and arranged and you bought the tickets and everything before you received the invitation letter for the interview. In these three cases, you can ask for rescheduling your interview. Okay. Third tip is emails. You have to be so alert to your emails, and even with me, because that's the start. So sometimes I send emails and I do not receive a reply back, and I have to send another one to remind, like, please reply to my previous email. This should not be how it goes with the finting. You should be alert more than that to your emails. And you should reply back to the email in all circumstances. So if you receive the invitation letter for the interview and you're willing to go, okay, so you will reply back. There's going to be a list of instructions and documents and stuff like that. So reply back accordingly if you're going in the time frame mentioned. Okay, if you want to reschedule, so reply back and ask for a reschedule and include what's the reason for that, and if you have the documents. And if you are not interested to go, still reply back and always leave a good impression with them. You don't know, like, you don't want to go to this interview, but no one knows what will happen in the future. So always keep a good impression about yourself. Reply email in all cases, going, not going, or reschedule. Okay. And the last tip is that if you have any physical limitation or disabilities that you want accommodation for it, please ask for it. It will not affect your interview by any ways. They will be glad to help you with that. Okay, so always keep these tips in mind. Now, how to prepare for the interview. Number one, emails. Again, emails is very important. That's the way of communication, and that's also an impression about you. Any job requires that to reply to emails and write emails. So that's very important. When you are invited to an interview, you will receive an invitation email with a lot of information instructions that you have to follow. So you should read it thoroughly, okay? Read it once and twice. Make sure that you are aware of everything that they talked about. Follow the instructions in it. Reply within the time frames. Don't wait until the last moment. Always do it as early as you can, as long as you have all the documents and information that they required. Provide all the information that they ask for. Do not, like, because you want to reply back quickly, so you skip parts. No. Go through the email. While you're writing and replying back, go back to the email. Make sure that you covered each part of it without missing anything. They will ask also for your preferred language of preference for the interview. Choose the one that you're fluent in. As we said in the application, they assess your writing skills. In the interview, they will assess your speaking skills. So do not choose the other language that you're not really strong at so that you show them that you're bilingual or whatever. No, choose the one that you could speak and express and find words to say. If you are bilingual, I'm gonna say this later on the slides, but they will have a brief question to assess your second language. So they will know that. You will be asked for some documents. You have to prepare them so that you have them all ready. You will take them with you on the day of the interview. Most probably there will be some forms to fill out. You will also have to get that filled out and printed or sent by email, depends on what's written in the email. And in the email, they will provide you with the number and email to contact in case if you have any clarifications or if anything changes in your status too, and that's something we're going to talk about. So keep the email and the phone number with you, but try to limit the number of emails or calls that you also do, right? So you don't want to keep on calling and emailing them. Just if you have questions in your invitation, gather all the questions together and send it in one email or say it in one phone call. Okay? Second thing, when you get that, you should prepare. You have 4 days, 96 hours, but I would advise you to start preparing for now. You do not know the documents and the form, of course, but you can still prepare for the interview itself. So there are many resources online, many, and there were a lot of webinars going on these days, very useful. I have attended some of them. They're very nice and very professional people giving it them. So I would advise you to keep alert, and I will also share with you any upcoming event or webinar that would be helpful to help you prepare for this step. We will continue with our training sessions. We are working on the mock interviews. I'll talk to you about that at the end. And as I said, any related webinar, I'll try to forward it to you so that you could try to attend, or if it's recorded, just watch it when you have time. The interview is gonna be focused mainly on behavioral questions. So in the application, they asked about your education experience. Now they're asking about behavior questions, and the last step with the hiring manager, it's going to be a job-focused interview related to the task that you will be doing. So behavior interview questions, there are many examples online, and I want you to always follow the STAR technique as they advised. I was thinking, and I'll take your opinion at the end too, maybe I could post some questions. They are not from the Fin team. They are just something that I could do with you so that you can try writing them down and preparing a bit. Maybe that would also help when it comes to the interview. When you applied online, like when you search for the Fin and then you had the links you clicked, for example, administrative clerk, and there was a page full of information before you clicked apply online. If you have read this information thoroughly, there was a part that stated things to be assessed later on. From the things that to be assessed later on was the language skills, so that they will test if you're bilingual. There was competencies and there were skills. So the competencies and skills that were mentioned to be assessed later, that's what they will be assessing you during this interview. So you have to read them. I hope that you took a printout of it or pasted it somewhere. read it and focus on related behavior questions to that. That's mainly what it's going to be about. When you receive this invitation email, always please keep me updated with you. So let me know, and we can do whatever you need during these 4 days to help prepare you. If you want another mock interview, we can do that. If you want just to practice some questions with me, we can do that. So we'll try to do whatever you need to be confident in this. Now, going to the interview, that's a tricky part now because we don't know if it's going to be online or if someone is going to come here. So we're trying to work it in both ways. Try to prepare yourself, they're coming or online. Okay. So if they're coming here, you have to check the street address. Okay, where is it? And you put an estimate, a correct estimate for the time. No one knows what happens. Sometimes roads are just blocked or an accident could have happened. So always add extra time to get to your destination. And if it's online, you have to always follow the guidelines for online interviews, choosing the right spot, your background, light, Wi-Fi signal, the cameras, your microphone to test it before. So this is something also I'll try to find resources for you to do. And it's always, if for the online, it's always good to try to practice it before, so you can just call someone and try to see, can you see me properly? Is the light good or not? So yeah, and always dress formal, either if it's personal or online. Dress formal from top to bottom, because some all these funny pictures that they post for people sitting with a suit jacket and then with their pajamas and slippers on. So you don't want to do it like that. No one knows what happens. Maybe something happens, you have to stand up or do anything. So you have to be well dressed in a formal way from top to bottom. Okay? If you're meeting with them, avoid using scented products. Many people here in Canada have allergies, so it's a respectful thing too to not put any scents. When you go to the interview, and I'm not sure if how that step would be if it's online, maybe they will ask you to send it by email, but if it's a person interview, so you take only the documents that they asked you in the invitation email to take. Do not take any extra papers, just what they asked for, so that you don't get messed up there and you're trying to find the papers in between the documents. You have the list, you just hand it out in a formal. When you meet with the interviewers, and there are going to be two interviewers, what are they expecting to see from you? They are expecting direct answers to their questions, because this is how they will assess your ability and skills and competencies that they're looking for. So direct answers, concrete examples, exactly as in the application. You can use examples from work, volunteer projects, or even from your post-secondary education. Sometimes you work together in projects or had an event that you organized, so you could also mention that. Just avoid anything personal. And always try to focus on your individual achievements that you did, okay? As we talked before, achievements and accomplishments are give a very good feedback about you and your abilities, so always try to mention that in your answers. As I said, no personal experiences unless you're asked a direct question asking for that, which is something not usual. So keep it related to work and volunteering and education. The questions, a big part of it's going to be scenario-based questions, and that means that you have to use the STAR technique. So I believe by now all of you are quite familiar with the STAR technique. You know how to structure it: situation, task, action, and results. So that's how you should always try to formulate your answers. Scenario-based questions, they want to know how you will react, how you will think. So that's the best way to answer it. At the interview, you will be given the questions 10 minutes ahead of time. So when you plan your time for going to the interview, you plan going early, and then you plan for 10 more minutes. Okay. So say, for example, you should go there like 20 to 25 minutes early. The earlier you go, the more you have time to sit and relax and calm down. And before your interview, 10 minutes, they will hand you out the questions, and you are allowed to take notes, and you are allowed to refer to the notes that you have during the interview. So you have to think how to best use the 10 minutes so that you could like give yourself hints or examples to these questions and use it wisely and strategically. You will have 2 interviewers, and they will be taking notes like any interview. They have to write notes because they're not just meeting you, they may be meeting someone else after and someone else before. So you have to have notes so that when they sit together and try to think who's the best candidate, they can refer back to their notes too, just as you did with your questions. So that's normal to see them writing down notes while you're speaking. If you feel that you did not understand the question, you can either ask to repeat the question or rephrase it. It's fine. The best thing is to do that. Otherwise, you're going to answer it wrong, and that means that you do not understand what was asked in the first place. Most of the interview questions are multi-part questions. So you have to be to pay attention to all the parts that were asked and to cover them all in your answer. The interview time is going to be 45 minutes. So it's going to be, that's your time slot. They're going to ask questions, and depending on your answers, this is how it's going to take time. If you're bilingual, they're going to ask you briefly to talk in the other language. It's not going to be a lot of questions, just briefly to get a rough idea about your speaking skills in that language. When you finish the interview, you will get an email notification about your result when everyone finishes their interview. So that's at the end of August. So if you were the first one to go to the interview, you have to wait all this time to get a feedback. And the feedback is either that you were successful or not. They do not provide any feedback else because there are many candidates. It's not just Fredericton, it's all over Canada, so they cannot do that, even if you ask for it. If you are successful, then you will be placed in the fin pool, okay? And when you're placed in the fin pool, and I've sent you an email about this yesterday, and this is what I want you to keep in mind always. Give updates to me and to the fin team. When you reach the fin pool, you will also give the updates to the fin team as well for any contact information that changes, employment information. If you were a PR and then you became a Canadian citizen, you have also to say that. Or if your availability changes and maybe you do not want to work, do not want to go on with the fin program anymore, you got a job, say, for example, in the public sector. So you always have to keep me updated throughout the whole process. And when you reach the fin pool, you also update the fin team as well. There's something I want to say here. Oh yeah, from the contact information, if you have changed the province, for example, so you moved from New Brunswick to Nova Scotia and you were in the fin pool, nothing will change. They will just change you from the pool of Fredericton to the pool of Halifax if you were in Halifax. So if you move to another city where the fin program runs, you can still be in the pool of that city. Of course, being in the pool does not mean that for sure you're going to have an internship. It depends. It depends on what are the openings and the requirements of the hiring managers during this year. Okay. If your qualification matches the manager's requirements, so they will refer your resumes to them. These are the resumes for the candidates that we have in the field that you're asking for. And that's when they will ask you for the last interview, which is job related. And they say that's going to be like an informal follow-up interview. We can know more about that later on. So give me a second, I'll admit someone. So you can receive an invitation from different hiring managers at the same time. I would advise you not to go to one and leave the other. Go to all of them because at the end, it's not just you who is applying and who they contacted. They could have contacted many other candidates as well. So you don't know your chances. If you have 2 or 3 at the same time, just go to all of them. That's my advice to you. And always put into consideration, it's not because they called you, so that's you who's going to take it. No, he called you and he called many others. So there's always a competition. Your resume can be referred to any of 3, the federal, the provincial, or the municipal. So there is no guarantee in which one it's going to be. It depends on the need, right? When you reach the process where the hiring managers, okay, choose you, they are the ones who will be asking for security clearance. They are the ones who will be asking for references and also some documents. So the documents, the ones that you provided to the FIN team at the beginning in this step in the interview, they will forward it to them. They may ask for more documents at that time, so that's what you will provide. Or they may need like original copies or something like that, you should also provide. Okay, so all of this is going to be the hiring manager if you pass the 3rd interview or the 2nd interview. Actually, when do the internships start? They start in September, but it doesn't mean that everyone will get in September. So it starts in September until August of 2021. So during that period, you could be called in for an internship at any time. Okay. So that's all what I wanted to let you know for now, because I just wanted to give you like a general feedback, because some of you were asking how will it go, where is it, and all of these questions. So that's like a general idea what to expect and how to prepare and what to expect after the interview too. In the steps that we're taking to prepare you, as I said, is trying to have mock interviews. I have contacted a lady, her name is Diana Murray. I talked to her yesterday. I'm having another meeting with her today to go through that. So she is a retired CFO, financial officer for a big company. This company started as a small local company, and then it became an international one. And she has been working with them for more than 30 years since they started until she was retired. And in her position, she was also responsible for hiring and interviewing candidates. So she's very familiar and aware with all the interviewing processes and how to formulate questions and all of that. So I'm working with her now on giving her the competencies that were mentioned in the application when you apply, so that she could try to formulate some questions, relevant questions. And how we're thinking of it is like I'm just gonna confirm. I'm gonna give you a rough idea now, so that you know how it goes. We're gonna like take a Zoom session for 2 hours, and I'm gonna see who's interested in having a mock interview with her. And it's gonna be 30 minutes by 30 minutes. So I'll share the same link with 3 candidates on the same day. The first candidate say starts from 10 to 10:30. The other one will use the link from 10:30 to 11, and then 11 to 11:30, roughly. Sometimes, of course, interviews can take a little bit longer. So when the second or the third one logs into this Zoom link, you will be placed in the waiting room just as usual as you log into any of our sessions. It says wait until the host lets you in. So that's how it's going to be. You're just going to wait until the first one leaves the mock interview, and then we will admit the second and then the third, okay, accordingly. So you follow the link, you go on time, and just wait for your turn. Another thing is, during these mock interviews, I would advise you to do it as if it's a real interview. So dress professionally, dress the way you would attend an interview. And I'll be there, and maybe Bonnie also would join, so that we could try to find like the points of strength and weakness, or some advice to give you related to how you were dressing the online. How did it go? Were you looking at the camera? Were the lights and all this stuff? We can give advice related to that, and she will give us a feedback related to your answers and how good they were, or if you need to work a little bit more on them. So these are the points I was thinking about, and I'm still going to discuss it with her, as I told you. So I want you to dress professionally, adjust the settings, and I'm trying to work with her to prepare the questions and send it to me, so that I would send it to you 10 minutes ahead of the interview, just the same way the interview would go, so that you try to practice the 10 minutes notes that you have, and see how could you use them strategically, okay? And of course, your notes, you will be also allowed to refer to it during the mock interview as well. So this is how I think about it. I want to hear also your suggestions, or if you have any other ideas that you would like to include in the mock interviews. I'm trying to keep it as a practice, the same way it should be. So let me know your opinions. What do you think?
So Iman, Pratibha here. I think it's
Yeah.
a good start. So I just want to ask, is there when are you planning this, right? And is there something, I know you shared a video as well with us, but is it possible that we will have some questions the similar way we had earlier, that we can practice beforehand, so that we can prepare our responses from those set, and then obviously we'll follow this method. I think that would be helpful.
I will try to do that. I will try to use her questions that she formulated related to the competencies that were mentioned, and I'll try to search for others online that were also related to the skills and competencies mentioned. I do not have any clue from the IRCC other than that. So the clue that I got from them the first time was refer to the requirements, and I think it worked well. It really, the questions were exactly like that. The clue I got for this one is refer to the competencies mentioned in the application. So that's what I'm going to work on, the competence and skills that were mentioned to be assessed later. That's what I will try to work on. I will try to pose the questions on our Facebook page. You can write it down in a draft document too. But the thing is here, you have to not just write them, you have to practice saying them. So saying them loud over and over again until you really know them, right? It's more that you talk easily, and you know, and your mind is really organized. Your thoughts are organized. You know how to structure the start in a very fluid and easy way.
Absolutely. I think that we need to practice a lot
Yeah,
more than we did
they're gonna
earlier.
see you walking in the house talking to yourself a lot, but you need to do that. You need to practice a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So any other suggestions? I would like to hear them.
Yeah, it's Imandu Shumala here.
Yeah, how?
Yeah, it's not a suggestion, like just another question. Like, for example, if we have done certain degrees or programs, but if there are certain programs in process, so do we need to use under process degrees or the programs in our answers, like, star technique and all, or we just need to just stick with the accomplishments or the programs or the degrees which we have already done?
The ones already done.
Okay.
They are not considering anything ongoing. And because of mentioning ongoing things, some people were screened out, unfortunately. So they are very clear about the requirements, and they really are so picky, and they are seeing who follows what the guidelines that they said and who's not. So in the application, unfortunately, few of you were screened out. They're not with us, of course, but that's what happened. They just did not follow what they said. The guidelines were so clear. We have talked about it in the sessions, and that's why I always say that attending or listening to the recorded sessions, it's a benefit now. This is something that would not have happened if we were back in the office. It would have been only live. So do you have a benefit of, if you are busy or working, or for any reason you could not attend, watch the recorded sessions. I try to give you, like, all the information I mentioned today is from the guidelines I received from them. It's not something that I invented. So I'm trying to send the message that they told me to you. So it's very important to understand it well and to follow it, because this is how they evaluate. Some people, they just evaluate, well, he did not follow the guidelines that we mentioned. So that's it. They want to see who, this is also a way of like assessing you, right? If you work anywhere, you will be told to do things, and there will be guidelines to doing that. So following it is a good impression about you as a person. So regarding to the education, only mention what you finished and what you have the certificates for. Anything ongoing is something that they know. So maybe you're not going to pass it. No one knows. So it does not really, interest them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or suggestions? Okay, so we will be starting planning with the mock interviews. Diana wants to start with the administrative clerk category. So if anyone applied to this category and is willing to take the mock interview, please let me know. We're gonna like make a schedule for that. I'm trying to book 2 slots with her, so 2 days, 2 hours. So that's 6 candidates a week, so that we could go from one category to another and everyone would get that chance before the interviews start. So we'll be starting by the administrative clerk. Anyone interested from the ones joining us today, please let me know, and I'll also post it for everyone else. And we'll try to find, and if anyone mornings does not really work well with them, please let me know. I'll try to find, and I feel that she only prefers mornings, but I can still try to see with her if someone is really busy in the mornings due to work or something like that. I can try to see what we can do to give everyone a chance as well. So that's all for today. I hope that it was helpful and it gave you at least a rough idea how things are going and what to expect. Please follow the page and I'll try to share with you any useful resource that could help you with that. And we're going to have more training sessions coming up in the upcoming weeks for sure.